night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Radio. Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Well, I think it most definitely was the biggest spider that I've ever seen.
You haven't seen that spider.
No, that's true. And the only one that's ever seen that spider, I think, is yourself, is it?
That is not true. Sean was here, and Sean saw that spider as well.
By the way, just out of curiosity, because, should I reveal the fact that Sean's not here right now? So it's Sackheads double, but not Sackheads triple. Sean may or may not return. He had some business to take care of.
And by business, we mean a practice for his recital.
Right. And he has a different tutu, though, this week.
He does.
It wasn't pink.
Nope.
I don't. How would you describe that color?
Pinkle. I would describe it as pinkle. Yeah, it's like a sparkly purple pink together,
Okay.
and that is pinkle, as that color is known in my world.
In your world.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And what's funny is Sean actually has kick pants on this week. Usually he doesn't.
Oh, wow, kick pants.
But I think he had a complaint from, anyways, it's not important what happened. Basically, he dropped the ball, if you know what I mean. And so he invested in some kick pants.
Okay, what are
So kick
what,
pants,
what are kick pants?
Kick
I
pants are
really,
what cheerleaders wear.
I really don't know.
Kick pants are what cheerleaders wear underneath their cheerleading uniforms.
Oh, so that one can't...
Don't ask me how I know this. I may or may
By
not
the way,
be,
how do you know that?
I don't know. I may be going back to my high school days, but it's kick pants. So Sean needed to get one after a ball fell out one side from his last recital.
A ball.
Yeah,
Singular.
He dropped a ball. Yeah, the other one was stayed tucked away, I guess, but the other one not so much. So he actually got the kick pants to match the pinkle sparkly tutu, and it's got a unicorn emblazoned across the rear.
Unicorn, very nice.
Yep,
very nice.
It's emblazoned across the rear with the horn jutting towards the center area as it hugs its his cheekies.
Cheekies. The Sackhead's cheekies.
The Sackhead cheekies. So that's where Sean is. Hopefully he'll come back. I think his he didn't expect the practice to go.
No, and they dropped him at the
long.
last minute, and that was really sad. So he really had to bomb out of here. So in any event, doggone it, I don't have mine. Son of a biscuit eater. Arr.
I was given this by a good friend, Sackhead BZ.
Mine is way over there. How sad.
Where is it? Where's yours?
It's over on the desk.
I can't see it.
Know. I'll have to get it in the break.
No, yeah, go ahead, talk, because I'm gonna get up.
Okay.
Shh, wait for me.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. In Sacramento these days, which is where we're broadcasting in the belly of the beast, Sacramento, Fornicalia. Hey, there it is. Now it's coming. Oh, here, wait. I got to take this off, and then this off, and then, and there we go. Arr. Arr. There we go. Nice. Everybody, can you see us now? Arr.
I like it.
Arr.
You should have screenshot that.
I know. How sad. You know, they don't make these to be worn easily.
Arr, you ready to go?
Yeah, except that, you know, I forget, let's see, this eye that's open is the one that doesn't see closely all that well, so that'll be interesting to see.
I'm right-eye dominant, so I'm okay.
Run the damn show. That'll be interesting. So, folks, here we are, the Sackheads Radio Show. It's Wednesday. It's Sacramento. It's still hot as hell. It was 90 degrees today.
Sacramento sucks.
It kind of does.
It doesn't kind of suck. It does suck.
It does.
I'm sorry, this itches my eyeball. I can't wear it right
Yeah,
now.
okay, all right. Well, that'll make two of us. Well, we were pirates for a time. By the way, isn't there an official Talk Like a Pirate Day?
I probably, I don't know.
I don't know if that's passed already or what, but I think there was an official Talk Like a Pirate.
Really?
Talk like a pirate. But this week, not like anything happened of any significance whatsoever this weekend.
Nothing at all. But I do want to say something. I
Okay.
saw a spider last week. That was actually the biggest spider I have ever seen. Now, bigger than the one that was actually in studio. It was at a lighthouse.
A lighthouse.
And it was about as big as my hand.
And this is something that you witnessed yourself.
I witnessed it, and I took a picture of it. When you can see the spider right up there, that is the
Okay.
edge of a door,
Holy
and
moly.
you can see how big that
There's-
bastard is.
There's something big. And that's what, like on the Pacific coast?
That is it's on a coast of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean,
not on the California Pacific coast.
Oh, okay. But I mean, it's the ocean is not that far away. And so that's a
The
spider.
ocean is right next to it.
Did it crawl out of
The ocean is right there from that spot.
Ooh, nice view.
Thank you.
Very nice view.
Yeah, so it was right next to the ocean.
So that thing looks like it would be about.
No,
I
it
don't
was
know,
literally as big as my
big,
hand.
As big as your hand.
Yeah, about as big as my hand.
Did it hiss when you approached?
I didn't get that. Like, I went up to the door to go, like, see if it was unlocked, see if I could open it to go into the lighthouse, and it stared at me with all 8 or 12 or 47 of its eyes.
I thought you were going to say, and it reached down and opened the door for me because it was big enough to.
No, but it was big enough to, and the funny thing is, I reached for my gun, and it wasn't there.
Oh, it had already stolen that.
It was not there. And so I was literally looking for a can of Aquanet hairspray and a lighter. I did, I swear to God.
I got a great visual out of that.
I
one.
wanted to burn it. I did. I even think I told somebody else there who was there to look at the white lighthouse, and I said, "Hey, did you see that spider?" And her husband, she was like, "Oh my God, that's huge." I said, "I literally want to light it on fire," and they thought it was hilarious. And the husband actually agreed with me, and we thought we might get arrested if we did.
Until they saw the size of the spider, and then they reconsidered and said, I wonder if it's one of those exotic jumping spiders.
Here's the thing. That thing, I think, even on fire, would have chased me around.
And it would have gotten pissed.
Yeah, because
It would have been irate.
spiders are the spawn of Satan anyways. And so, and I wasn't drunk enough at that point to be able to tolerate it. And neither was B-Dub. B-Dub was stone cold sober.
Uh-oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
To have to see that kind of a
Yes.
visage
To-
while you're sober, and you're not even laboring under any influences whatsoever.
And
Drugs, paraphernalia, alcohol, or otherwise. Well, it'd have to be alcohol because
Right.
B-Dub anyway.
right. Yeah, no drugs involved, but alcohol for sure. I don't even think there was boxed water in sight.
You guys told me about boxed water, and I still have not seen any boxed water. And I've been looking.
Really?
No, I have not. I've seen boxed wine all over the place.
Yeah.
But boxed water.
Yeah. Look, she drank a lot of boxed water on this trip.
Are you? You're not trying to convert
No.
her, are you?
No, God, no.
Okay.
No, there was plenty of boxed wine present as
Okay,
well.
all right. So you had her well supplied, is what you're
And
saying.
boxed
You're
rum.
taking care of her.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
As well you should.
And not boxed rum. I said boxed rum. I can't be that.
Boxed drum or boxed, rum?
rum.
Red rum.
Ew. That's a
Ew.
horrible movie.
Yes, it is.
That is
Oh,
a
you mean The
horrible
Shining?
movie.
The
Yes.
Shining was actually pretty good.
Do you know what it's based on? Do you know what hotel it's based on?
There was an actual murder that occurred during the winter in some motel somewhere. And I think the one that they shot at was in Colorado.
It was. Do you know which hotel it was?
No, I
It
don't.
was the Stanley Hotel.
Stanley as in Stanley Kubrick, the director of that film?
Kind of. But it's at the Stanley Hotel, which is supposedly is haunted. There was a series on I think it was the Sci-Fi Network, Ghost Hunters, and they did a whole like live Halloween special.
The wifely wife loves Ghost Hunters.
Okay, so they actually did one at the Stanley Hotel. It was actually really good.
Jason Hawes and God, I can't think of the other guy. Shoot.
Grant
Wilson. Except
Yes.
Grant Wilson is gone.
Yeah.
He left, but Jason Hawes is
They
still
were
back.
they were a couple plumbers.
Yeah, exactly. Roto-Rooter dudes.
Yeah. So I have to yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have to I get I go places and I get angry sometimes.
Oh, that's bad.
Right. So here's the beautiful thing. I tried. I had no phone on. I had no email. I didn't watch any TV or news. But I would still find things that would get me like just angry.
On a vacation.
Right.
Okay, I know. Say no more. You were watching television.
I happened to glance a television.
Okay.
That
answers everything.
I happened to glance a television because I might have walked into a bar during Sunday football.
Maybe. Or did the bar walk into you?
Maybe. Maybe. And then I freaking heard about a baseball player.
A baseball player.
And I'm one baseball player.
One baseball player.
I am ashamed to say that the first Major League Baseball player that kneeled during the national anthem is an Oakland Athletic.
Wait. Hold the presses. Isn't that your favorite team?
It was.
Past tense.
Yes.
But one guy doing that is enough for you. One guy.
Yes, and here's why.
All right.
The team has been silent on him. The ownership has been silent.
Okay.
And he did it a second day in a row. Because, of course, I have to follow this shit. Right?
Right. Granted.
Yeah. And that's why. He did it a second day, and there's been no and I had a conversation with somebody today who was also an Oakland Athletic fan, and he said that a school band played the national anthem on the field for one of the last Oakland Athletics game. I was unable to look up the story to verify it. I tried before the show started. I was unable to find it. But he said the entire band played the national anthem while on a knee at the Oakland Coliseum.
Now, I've heard a lot of crazy things, and I've seen a lot of crazy things this past weekend and Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not seen or heard of that.
Of which part?
The band playing the anthem on the knees. Number one, that'd be a little difficult to do. Number two, especially if you're the guy with either the tuba or the big bass drum. That would be a little difficult to do.
SB Nation. On Monday night, the Oakland Unified School District Honor Band played the national anthem on one knee ahead of the athletics game. This is
Holy crap.
This is by James Dater on September 26, 2017 on SB Nation.
Yeah, that was
and
yesterday.
there is a video posted by the Oakland Unified School District.
Oh, so good. This is something they're really proud of.
The crowd can be heard cheering when the band is announced, only to intensify when the students decided to protest while playing the anthem. The OUSD posted the following on their Facebook page outlining the students' decision. Before tonight's Oakland A's game, the OUSD Honor Band played the national anthem. Because of the ongoing national discussion about racial justice, which over the weekend gained steam when President Trump said with vulgarity that NFL players should be fired for taking a knee, most members of the band took a knee for the whole song. A's catcher Bruce Maxwell also took a knee. The students said they were protesting racism, police brutality, and the president. Hashtag I am OUSD, hashtag Oakland-Athletics. Reaction to the video on Facebook has been largely positive. Several commenters are praising the schools for teaching the children to be civic-minded, while critics, many living outside the area, are slamming the OUSD for brainwashing children into protesting the president.
Well, that's something you could certainly be really, really proud of. Now, question to you. You're a baseball guy.
I was.
And
well, I still am.
just sort of in general, but the question to you is this: we know, and we're going to talk about what happened in the NFL.
Yes, we are. I wanted to wet the whistle with this.
But you bringing that up, let me back up a bit, and that's this. Okay, one guy and an entire high school band
Yep.
goes stupid on one ball field.
Yes.
Is that a trend in Major League Baseball, and will it continue?
It's not.
How long do they have to go before the starts the series?
It's not a trend yet. I think it will be. I think that Maxwell is trying to sell his jersey.
Oh, gee. All right. I hadn't.
Right?
Perfect. I hadn't even thought about that, but yes.
I think Maxwell knows he's not going to be with the Athletics next year. He's in Oakland, right there in the belly of the beast, as you like to say. I think he's trying to sell his jersey.
Oh, man.
And here's the problem for me. Yes, the Oakland Athletics has been my favorite team for over 40 years. I'm old. I look old. And
I'm only 32.
yes, you are. and we're brothers.
You're right.
And but the fact that here's why I'm now leaning even further away from the Oakland Athletic Organization. And I'm a guy, I go see several games a year. I spend money. My kids have Oakland Athletic paraphernalia, like officially licensed athletic stuff.
And
not
that stuff isn't
stuff.
cheap.
It's not.
MLB stuff is not cheap.
I go to baseball games. I support the Oakland Athletics. I've had a large group there that we've all gone to the ballpark a couple different times, and so the fact that this organization has now not remained silent on even though it's one player, on this player taking a knee, and they've invited a marching band out that took a knee on their ball field. And then the Oakland Unified School District puts them out on blast about how awesome and amazing it was, and then hashtags the Oakland Athletics also. To me, that's direct evidence that the Oakland Athletics are at the very least okay with what's going on, and at the worst complicit in it. And either way, that's not a team I want to support.
So you think this is going to grow? One guy, one team.
I do. And
then, well, like I said,
do, and here's why. And I know we're going to talk about the NFL here in a bit.
Yeah, we will.
But you look at NFL, you look at NBA, it's going to spread to MLB. NASCAR came right out and said, if anybody does that, we're going to fire people. Right, a lot of the owners of cars came out and said that.
Oh my God, that brings up another topic, which we'll get to,
and we'll
but
get
not
to
now.
But that's amazing. NHL, I don't think anything started there, and MLS, I haven't heard of anything starting there yet.
Yeah.
But just look between last year and this year. So do I think it'll spread? Yeah, I really do. Unless MLB comes out, that's America's pastime, right? That's baseball is the great American pastime.
Got a lot to lose.
They have a ton to lose.
Now, Dave Milner in chat made just a one-word comment and said demographics, and that's what I was thinking about in terms of Oakland. So I
brought that up when I said he's trying to sell his jersey.
Yeah,
right? He knows he's not going to be in Oakland next year.
Yeah,
so if he does this shit this year, he can spike jersey sales in that area, which is the belly of the beast. And so I absolutely alluded to that.
Yeah.
But what other major cities have baseball teams that this could happen? The New York City Council just had members that took a knee. That took a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance. The frickin' New York City Council.
Yeah, consider the source. Consider the gene pool.
Yeah. So look at areas that the Los Angeles Dodgers. right?
Oh,
So the Los Angeles Padres. They're not the San Diego Padres anymore. They're leaving a Republican district.
Wait a minute. Hold that roll. Hold
Yeah.
up on that car wash.
Yes.
I did not know. Now, I went to a Padres game probably in the early 80s.
And they were Los Angeles?
The San Diego Padres were the San Diego Padres.
Yes, they were.
They're in L.A. now.
Yes.
How long have they been in L.A.?
Brand new.
Okay.
Like I don't even know if they this year they're still in San Diego, but I think they're going to L.A. I'm trying to find out what year.
Okay, well, I don't feel so terribly bad for not
No, you
knowing
shouldn't.
that they weren't in San Diego anymore. I don't feel that bad.
No. You shouldn't. It's recent. It's a recent decision.
Holy crap. Well, we're going to get to the NFL. That's another topic in and of itself. But if you think that this infection has spread to Major League Baseball...
I lied. The Padres aren't moving. It was the Chargers.
Oh.
The Chargers, the San Diego Chargers are moving to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Disregard that entire last 4 minutes because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm going to look you right now in the eye and say, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about on that, so I apologize.
Okay, so the Rams are playing in the Coliseum, and the Chargers, when they come up from San Diego, where the hell are they going to play? They can't both be in the Coliseum on Sunday.
I think they are. I think unless they're playing each other, I think they're playing in the same field. They're splitting time.
Wow.
Kind of like the Lakers and Knicks do.
Wait a minute.
Or the Clippers.
Does that mean that you could get a twofer on tickets? You could get one ticket to one seat and see two games.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you buy season tickets, they're for 10 games, right? Or eight games, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever they
8 games. So if you're buying season tickets for each, you're still instead of seeing a game every other week, you're seeing a game every week. So you'd still need to buy season tickets.
And season tickets are what? $1,000?
Nah, I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't either because I don't happen to roll
Yeah,
that way.
don't know.
But see, we know what's happening to the NFL.
We do.
But
I know we have 6 minutes for a break.
Yeah,
so I don't want to start into that. 'Cause that's a big topic.
No, we're not going to get into the NFL yet.
But I do think it's gonna spread in Major League Baseball.
But Major League Baseball is not seeing. They're not understanding what's already happened in the past 4 days, and they've decided that's fine. We'll do the same thing.
I don't know. Like I said, absent any reaction from MLB or from the MLB commissioner, I do think it'll spread. How does it not? How does it not spread? It's already spread from the NFL into, we're seeing student marching bands. We're seeing city councils. We're seeing this spread. We're seeing it go to other places. And granted, a majority of Americans disagree with it.
It went to Congress.
But how does it not spread?
Consequences. That's just one word. Consequences. There are already consequences. If they can't see that, then all right, fine. Go ahead and do what you got to do. And I'm of the mind that they mostly don't care.
Not yet. Here's why the Oakland A's need to care. And just a standalone discussion, other than what's happening in the NFL. We keep referencing that. We are going to talk about it after the break. But here's why it's important for the Oakland Athletics. Let me make it very, very real on why it's important to that team specifically, because this jackass is starting it. The Oakland Athletics have a new president of baseball operations. They are trying very hard to get a stadium. They need viewership and they need money. And
taxpayer money,
yeah, but they need fans. And the way they're doing that, and you look at the moves they've made this season, they have, I don't know, like a 5-year plan where they're cultivating young talent. They want to be competitive in 3 to 5 years. Because by the time they get a new stadium, and the president of the Oakland A's already said this, by the time they get a new stadium, they want to be competitive. You can't be competitive if you don't have money. And the large demographic in Oakland doesn't go support that baseball team.
Okay, now that's an excellent point.
It is.
My question to you was, how inherently strong is the Oakland A's organization right there?
Right there, it's not. The people right there in that city, my experience has been that they don't go to a lot of the games. They may beg to differ, but when I go there and I see it with my own eyes, that Oakland, that specific city demographic isn't there. A lot of the people that are at the games, again, from my perspective, and I've been there to a lot of games, are people coming in from the outside to see the games. A lot of people from the Sacramento area, a lot of people from kind of the East Bay and so forth, are there to support that team, and a lot of fans are there for the other team as well.
Okay, but does the Giant base follow the Athletics base?
No.
So now the twain shall meet. Here's another question.
Not near the team. There are some people that are Bay Area sports fans that follow the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics. They even have a ballpark half as Giants, or a ball cap that half is Giants and half is A's. The Bay Bridge series is the Battle of the Bay, is a big series every year. So there's a rivalry there, and there are some fans who support both teams. But by and large, no, you're either an A's fan or you are a Giants fan, much like you are either a Raiders fan or you are a 49ers fan.
Okay, there you go. You went there. You opened the door. I'm going to walk through it because that's the question that I had. The Oakland Raiders leaving that town and going to Las Vegas, did that or has that impacted the Oakland A's?
I don't think so, because the baseball fanship is separate from the football fanship. It will affect the Coliseum because...
See, and that's the other thing, because you have to have a sufficient justification.
You do.
Do you not, to build a new stadium?
You do. So it'll affect the Coliseum in this way. Right now, the Oakland Coliseum is getting money from... It's the last dual-purpose stadium left, still in use. Candlestick is no longer in use, and now it's the Oakland Coliseum. It's the last stadium that professional baseball and professional football is played at. So the concession stands run during baseball season and during football season. The shops and everything else, and the jobs that are there for both seasons. So with the Oakland Raiders leaving and going to Las Vegas, yeah, that's an entire season of a major sporting event that's going to be vacant now. You're losing out on the parking. You're losing out on restaurants that are going to be
cash, baby,
in that area. Yep.
Cash.
The city is going to be losing out on a lot of that stuff. And so this is why I said the Athletics have to be very careful, because baseball being America's pastime, if as an organization you are okay with disrespecting the flag, good luck with trying to get the financial backing to build. The city may love you. And build you a stadium, but guess what? If the fans don't come to see you in your new stadium because you've pissed most of them off, and the visiting team won't come to watch you, or visiting team fans won't come to watch their teams in your stadium because you've pissed them off, good luck.
Good luck to that. Well, folks, it's the bottom of the hour. We got to take a break. We're going to be right back. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the NFL. Maybe we're going to talk a little bit more about the Oakland A's and how this may have something to do with the future of sports in general, and perhaps even ESPN and all sorts of buttery political goodness. So please, folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
I have breaking news.
Conservative media done right.
Stop.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Hugh Hefner is dead at age 91.
Wow. Okay.
His coffin had to be made with a lump in the middle, I think.
That's what passes for cogent observation here at the Sackheads Radio Show. Folks, don't go away. We will, in fact, be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are back listening to the Sackheads Radio Show. It's Wednesday, standard Sackheads Radio time. It's the 20th, oh my God, it's the 27th of September already. Where the hell did this month go?
I have a question for you.
Boom, done, gone.
I have a question for you before we get into the NFL segment.
Sure.
After this awesome music, kind of a real mellow vibe going right now.
Wherever Sean found that, when we make promos again, I want that to be the bed under it again. I just like that. It's good stuff.
I need a yes or no and a brief explanation before we get into the NFL.
All right.
Is Trump going to allow the release of the JFK files?
Wow. Number one, I didn't know that was an issue.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well then.
Yes. Those.
Elucidate on that then, please.
Yes. So those the government's JFK files.
I knew there was a time limit, but I didn't know that
it is up.
That we're looking at it now.
It is up. We are staring at it. And they have to be released, I think 2018. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but fairly soon, unless the Trump administration has a specific reason to keep them secret still. Is he going to keep them secret? And if he does, what would the possible reason be? Why would the government want to keep those files secret if he so chooses to do so? If he doesn't, then we'll know, right? We'll know whatever the government files out, at least what they say is their complete file. But what if he decides to keep them secret?
Here's my first thought. Number one, frankly, I don't think he cares.
Okay.
I really don't. I think that he would readily dismiss that and say, I don't care. Go ahead, fine. If it's legally possible to do so, I'm not going to stop it. But the question then becomes, because of all the establishment folks that are still there, although most of them are gone from the 60s because he died on September 22nd, 1963, over 50 years ago, long time ago. It makes me wonder, we already know that there's a terrible disgust with government on most every form. Is this government ready to have something exposed on the order of, gosh, was the mafia possibly involved in the hit on JFK, or was it orchestrated in some other fashion? Or if they have proof of simply the lone gunman theory. So it all depends on who's invested in all of this stuff. I don't think Trump has any investment whatsoever. I don't think he could he could care one whit.
I don't think so
that.
either. And Representative Walter Jones and Senator Chuck Grassley, both Republicans, are the ones kind of advocating the release.
Because here's one very large issue. Do you remember Gerald Ford when he was president? Okay, Gerald Ford, before he became president, was also on the Warren Commission. And the Warren Commission is that commission which concluded volume after volume after volume of paperwork doing an investigation. Now, that's air quotes. If you're on YouTube, air quotes, an investigation. So Gerald Ford had a vested interest in that. He's not around. People his age, they're no longer around.
Correct.
So if there is no vested interest, who's looking out for the government?
Well,
if no one is looking out for the government, and then they open the records without reading them or knowing specifically what's inside.
Oh, they'll read them first.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they will read them first. Of course they will. So Jones is saying there's no reason that the information from a security standpoint should not be made public. So much is known about the assassination. Why not close the chapter?
Yep.
And him and Grassley are citing a law signed by former President George H.W. Bush mandating the release of all documents related to Kennedy's assassination within 25 years. Within 25 years. So this was a law signed by the president at the time under the JFK Records Act of 1992. 1992. The National Archives has until October 26th of this year. Folks, that is less than 1 month away. Less than 1 month away to disclose the remaining files related to the assassination. Unless the President of the United States determines that doing so would be harmful to national security. There are about 3,100 files still unsealed by the National Archives. That means people don't know what's frickin' in those. People who are alive today, 54 years ago, roughly this happened, right? People that are alive today don't know what is in those sealed files. If those files are sealed, and there's 3,100 documents and they're still sealed, then how could they know what's in them? I would think Trump would have to review those, because otherwise how would he know what kind of issue they're going to pose? And here's the interesting thing. If President George H.W. Bush mandated the release of all documents within 25 years and then signed that law and then said, well, unless the president at the time determines that they could be harmful to national security, why have the need to put that statement in there or to keep them sealed for another 25 years unless there's something harmful to the government or an entity in those records?
Okay, then let me throw this out.
Yeah.
Let's say President Trump doesn't care. Let's say President Trump doesn't mind holding that issue at arm's length. And when asked, says, okay, fine, divulge. Have at it. October, what did you say, 26th?
Yes.
Okay, October 26th. He says, fine, go ahead, open it up. Let's display all that information.
Mm-hmm.
He's the president. He can make that decision. Can anyone else or a group of individuals somewhere in government decide, no, you know what, we override you. We've decided, let's say on the DNI.
So if Congress
decides, this is not in our best security interest. can that person, the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, who's in charge of everything,
It doesn't sound like it. I have not read the law.
make that determination?
It doesn't sound like it, because the law signed by a president of the United States, George H.W. Bush, said that they have until October 26th of this year to release the records. So it's passed Congress, right? If it's a law, which is what the article said, if it's a law, it's passed Congress, been signed by the President of the United States. The only way to stop that would be to go to the third branch of government, the judicial. And who would bring suit to stop those records from coming out?
Oh, OMG. Just that. Whatever group that was coming out of the darkness.
And they haven't yet, that I know of.
Right. And then deciding that they're going to file some kind of a motion. That would tell you essentially all you need to know about the nature of the documents themselves, would it not?
I would think so.
It also becomes sort of an if-then equation.
Yes.
I would even say, for example, do you really want to know, really, really, truly want to know, if we have anything inside Fort Knox? And finding out that answer, do we really want to disclose that information? So stop, go back. October 26th, depending on what's in those files, do we really want to disclose that to the American public depending on what they reveal? What if there's information in there that reveals that in some fashion the U.S. government or people working as agents of the U.S. government are somehow linked to the assassination of a president, a sitting president of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
Could we take that as a nation? Now, could we take that? Could we withstand that beating? And that would be a beating.
Yes. And here's why. And if Trump really wants to drain this, look, it is possible that there is nothing in those records. It is possible that everything in those records.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that that they just, for whatever reason, it was a sensitive time.
Right.
And they just decided, you know what? We don't want to discuss this anymore. These were bad times. Any information and documentation that we have regarding this, we don't want to relive it right now, and we just as soon let this pass and let the president not be the recipient of any more hate and discontent, or the nation be subject to any more hate and discontent than it was throughout the entire 60s when we were reliving on many planes the assassination of JFK, because it was 1968 when RFK was killed. It was 1968 when Martin Luther King was killed.
Yes.
Do we want to go back to those times?
No. And look, so this could be where there was nothing in these records, and the government just wanted people to move on, right?
Not impossible.
If that's the case, I think that's a horrible reason to keep documents confidential.
True.
But it's possible, right? But the flip side of that, if there's something nefarious in these documents, do I think we have to know? Absolutely, I think we have to know.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then I think that we have to take a long, hard look at those agencies, if they still exist or what they have morphed into now, to ensure that this isn't happening, and not just some blowhard director up there. Oh, this would never happen in this day and age. We have blah 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 bullshit, right? So yeah, it's important. And here's the legislative history of this. It was introduced in the Senate by John Glenn Jr.
Really?
Yep, on July 22nd, 1992. Went to the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee, passed the Senate on July 27th, 1992, passed on a voice vote.
Okay.
And this is John Glenn Jr., a Democrat out of Ohio that pushed this forward. It passed the House on September 30th, 1992, without objection.
All right.
And it was signed into law by President H.W. Bush on October 26, 1992. So it passed the Senate bill, right? It passed the Senate, passed the House, signed by the president, introduced by a Democrat, obviously had bipartisan support, signed by a Republican president. Do you think they know what's in those records? John Glenn. It's interesting that John Glenn. It is interesting that John Glenn introduced it, right? He was the only astronaut in U.S. history to fly on every manned space platform that we've had, correct? He was one of the original Mercury 7.
He was a Mercury astronaut.
He flew on Gemini, I believe.
I don't know. I don't think he was on Gemini, and I don't think he was on Apollo, but I do know for a fact that he was on the shuttle.
He did. He flew.
He was in one of the shuttle missions.
He was on Mercury. He was on one of the Mercury missions.
That's right. He was one of the first 7 astronauts that we created in the United States.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Yeah, and then he flew one of the shuttle missions, again as a payload specialist.
But the overarching question is,
so he was so he was there. I'm sorry, he was one of the original Mercury 7 when John F. Kennedy was really spinning the space program up. Right. Wanted to go to the moon within 10 years.
Yep.
We made it happen.
In less.
So the fact that he kind of introduced this bill is interesting. Interesting to me.
The larger question is that there are, to my knowledge, the last I checked, and I hope everybody's sitting down, there were over 500 books written about the assassination of JFK. There have been any number of theories, and I can't say that I'm a devotee of this kind of stuff, but I've done a little bit of reading. There's a book by, what's this guy's name? He was the prosecutor in the Charles Manson case, Vincent Bugliosi. And he wrote a massive, this sucker must be like 4 or 5 inches thick. And basically, I think the title of the book was something similar to Case Closed. And what he concluded is, there was a lone gunman, anything else is specious bullshit, it's closed, I've got all the facts, go away. Mm-hmm. There are other people that say that Clint Hill from the Secret Service, 2 or 3 cars back, was holding an AR-15, which at the time was a relatively new rifle. Not everybody had them.
It was an M16 at the time.
Or an M16,
right?
Okay. It was a military version, and some people are theorizing that Clint Hill knocked a round out of his M16, and that's what hit and killed Kennedy, which is one of the reasons that Clint Hill dropped, ran from a car, and got onto the back of the limousine. And if you remember, it was Clint Hill who got on the back of L-100, the president's limousine, hung on. And if everybody remembers Jackie Kennedy, she was wearing a pink dress that day. She comes, if everybody remembers the Zapruder films, she gets out of the back seat, and everybody wonders, why the hell is she stupid enough to get out and try to scramble onto the trunk of a Lincoln Continental limousine as it's beginning to accelerate away? She was trying to grab the pieces of skull of her husband that had been spattered all over the back of the trunk. Clint Hill grabbed that grab bar on the back of it and managed to push her back into the limousine. Then there are people that wonder about the 3 shots themselves. They're saying that, that can't all come from the book depository. And if you happen to look at the Zapruder film, you see that the first round indicates that the president comes up and clutches his neck. Now, if there's one thing that I know, is that you know about ballistics. And you know the nature of ballistics because you're a gun enthusiast. And you know a lot of stuff about that. Now, I know you do. And you know a lot of stuff about that, and I do too. Now, when you've got someone that's in a vehicle and they're moving forward, and if you remember the Zapruder film, the president has the presence of mind at that point and sufficient control of his muscles to be able to reach up with both hands and clutch his neck and go for his neck. And then, if you remember from the next film, because there's that stupid sign in the Zapruder film that occludes for a moment from one particular frame, I don't remember what it is, but as soon as it breaks out of that sign, then every fucking thing happens. Mm-hmm. You can see the president hold his neck, and just once it clears that sign, then you see matter, tissue, absolutely scream out of the president's skull. Now, looking at that, do you tend to think that the way the president's head reacted, that a shot came from the rear or a shot came from the front? My initial thought when I look at the Zapruder film is, ballistically speaking, I call bullshit on a shot from the rear.
So what it looks to me, and I'm going to say this because I have seen no autopsy photos. I have seen that the Zapruder film is grainy as hell. So I'm going to put all the caveats in there, and just taking an initial reaction on the Zapruder film, an initial reaction only, again, without having all the evidence. You like my disclaimers about 8 different times there?
No, that's true, but I understand why you're doing it. Exactly.
Yeah. So my initial instinct when I saw that is that it looks like a round from the front and a high-velocity exit to the rear.
Yes, and obviously you and I think we would both agree that from what we see in the Zapruder film, I think it's a 16-millimeter film, which was, comparatively speaking today, I mean, it's absolutely archaic.
Yes.
But I think you and I would both conclude that with the projectiles that we see emitted from the president's head, it is a high-caliber performance round.
Look, I would think that. So my initial reaction again would be that that's not a 223.
No.
That it is a 308. It would be a rifle round.
You and I are in complete concurrence with that. I completely agree.
Yeah, some kind of 30 caliber round. That's my initial instinct. Again, seeing that film, I mean, that's seems to me the way the president's head reacts and the exit that you seem to see from the rear is that it's taken from the front with a high velocity exit to the rear. It looks like his cranial vault was overpressurized, and that was accomplished from a frontal shot is what it looks to me.
Now, what do we know from most of the testimony and from most of the witnesses on that particular day? We know there were 3 shots. So I think most everyone can agree on 3 shots. Most everyone can agree that the second shot went wild because it's apparently, from what I know, it skipped off the concrete or the curb or something like that. And someone was actually hit by some of the fragments. Kennedy wasn't the only one struck that day. The governor
was too.
Of John Connally of Texas at the time was struck and almost killed that day as well by that particular bullet. That said, of those 3 rounds, we can pretty much conclude the first one is the president clutching at his neck. There was a second. Then there was a third. You and I, just initially, just generalizing, we would agree that at first blush, from what I know, looking at the Zapruder film, it would appear that there was, to our way of thinking ballistically, a third round definitely, a high-powered round from a rifle, not a .223. I would say 300, 308 or above.
Mm-hmm.
And to us, it appears as though it came from ahead instead of behind.
I could say that the shot that killed him appears to come from the front. Is it possible that a round came from the rear that went through his neck or his throat? Yeah, I think that's possible, and here's why. I think that this is possible, because, and I can't see in that his throat, but if you had an entry wound through the tissue in the back and out the front, you can have a clean through and through to where he may grab his throat. So I can't say that even an initial impression on that would be a frontal shot in the throat if that was a struck, and I see that. Okay, I have no way to authenticate that either, but that certainly looks like a high velocity exit.
Yes, but knowing
that's not an entry wound.
No, bingo. That's my point.
Yeah.
What do we know?
We're gonna have to mark this graphic in case anybody underage is watching.
What do we know about something like that?
That's an exit wound. If that is, and I don't know if that's real. Yeah, I don't know.
It's taken for granted. There are about 3 or 4 consistent autopsy photos that I've seen throughout the internet. That's one of them. There's another one with Kennedy's head draped over the metal of a gurney, and that's in black and white. But what do we know, Clint? What do you and I know? Because of ballistics, we know that an entry wound is inherently going to be smaller than an exit wound. That's the nature of bullet patterns, because bullets trace a path, particularly through tissue.
Correct.
That's why you can tell if someone shoots a projectile at glass, for example. You're going to see spalling in glass, and you're going to see a cone or a crater in glass from the side that was struck initially, like a BB. Shooting a BB gun at a pane of glass is a perfect example. You're going to have a small little hole in a pane of glass on the initial strike side, the impact side. And behind it, you're going to see an exit cone of glass. That's how you know from which direction the BB was fired. And that's true of almost anything and everything involving firearms. It's almost a given. A smaller entry and a larger exit. Now, I've seen that on bodies for years. I've seen it on glass. I've seen it on armored glass, as a matter of fact, because we shot at some of that crap when we were with the federal government. So we have a pretty good idea how these things work. Now, taking all that back, we got about 2 more minutes before the top of the hour.
So I found an autopsy photo here. Just like, this is nothing I've really ever looked in depth on, to be honest. But I found one where it looks like there's a small, looks like an entry hole on his rear, kind of upper shoulder area right below the neck. So if that's the case, that's possible that that's your rear entry, and you could have something out the front that he kind of reaches up and grasp, or grabbing up here. Maybe it's not his throat, but maybe he's grabbing his chest region or something, and it's this photo that I'm referring to. And again, I have no way to authenticate any of this stuff, but that looks like an entry kind of right there below his neck to the rear. That looks like an entry to me.
Right. I would agree. That's, in my opinion, there's no way that that's an exit wound. It's simply too small. That's not the nature of bullets in flight. Anything traveling at a high velocity, that's not its nature.
Correct. Now, the other caveat of that is that first picture you showed, which looks like an exit to me. I mean, God, man, is that possible? That is a. I mean, without being there, it's really hard to see which part of the cranial vault that's exposed. Is that the top? Because if so, that presents a whole different issue, right? Is it the true back where the cap is? Is it directly up top? Without seeing specifically where that is, that's hard to say. But again, my initial reaction would be that's certainly an exit.
There are a number of photographs which indicate generally that the face of the President of the United States,
is intact.
JFK, is intact. That is not in keeping, in my opinion, with a bullet fired from the rear.
Correct. But if you have something, an exit up, say, this area, you could have an entry down here, right?
Or this. Let me.
You could have a side entry. You could.
Let me be the doctor of death and say this: do we have concrete evidence that somewhere, perhaps occluded by that sign, the president didn't turn his head?
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying, right? Because if he turned his head this way, and you have a left entry, or even how's this, a lower left entry, you can have an upper right exit. Correct?
Not impossible. I've done OIS's, officer-involved shootings, where people think that officers shot a suspect in the back. What happens is the initial shots occurred in the front, struck the body. In response, the body started to turn, and in the process of turning, the officer fires 1, 2, or 3 more rounds as the body is turning, and that's what makes people think occasionally that a suspect is shot in the back, when in fact he was shot in the front, and the mechanics of the body and the way the body is moving and falling turns and twists.
And here's the other thing: if you have if the exit wound, because remember, that exit wound is caused by overpressurization, correct?
Yes.
You're overpressurizing that cranial vault with that high caliber round.
Correct.
And that's why that's why there's that explosion,
Right.
that expulsion. So is it possible to have a high rear entry with a upper overpressurization followed by an exit? It's possible. So is it possible to explain one shooter? Yeah, I guess it's possible. Again, my first reaction, it would seem more likely to be a frontal entrance with a rear exit. But again, without seeing really where that picture is taken, if that's a direct top of the head exit wound, it's possible that that's a rear entry with the top overpressurizing and then the exit.
Folks, while we're gone, Google Schrodinger's cat, if you would. We're going to be right back. It's at the top of the hour. We're a little bit late for a break. Folks.
NFL. We're going to get to the NFL.
We will get
but
to
I
it.
didn't. That's a story that's not getting a lot of play.
I don't mind even talking more about that. I
Okay.
had no idea that was coming. Folks, we're going to go to...
It's a surprise BZ.
Yeah. Good Lord. Hey, folks, hang on. This is the Sackheads Radio Show on Wednesday, the 27th of September. We will be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking, drinking, drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, we're still having a discussion. Clint and I are having a discussion, and we didn't stop speaking all through the break. We kept talking about the possibilities of what could have happened to JFK on September 22nd, 1963. The possibilities, some people say that they're limited. I don't think that they're necessarily limited per se. They're relatively limited, but they're not limitless. And Sackheads Clint and I came up with a couple of situations that may possibly have been involved in this. Like I say, the discussion didn't stop, and we kept rolling with it, so to speak. And you had a theory as we were talking, Clint. What was your theory?
It's not a theory, but the more
or an alternate, a possibility, something like that.
Yeah. So I've talked, as I even talked before, is that, hey, my initial seeing the whole film. Initially, you look at the shot looks like it comes from the front, but we talked about it. I said, hey, I haven't really studied that picture before. So I'm looking at that picture, and I'm not a doctor. I'm practically a doctor. I play one on SHR sometimes.
I know, that's true.
But in looking at that, hey, yeah, where his body kind of goes back into the left or whatever it is, right? It looks like he takes the shot, kind of goes back, and you have the exit wound. But I said, hey, if it came out on top, it's possible you have a rear entry because we're talking about overpressurization of that cranial vault, right? Which is causing that wound.
Yep.
But if you look at where it seems to be kind of open along the top right side. And I found a kind of a model of it.
Let me see if I can find a photo.
And
here.
if it's open top right side, it is. I'm the way that I'm thinking is, man, that's possible. That is. I found it. So that's a model of it. Oh, the cameras aren't up. So that's a model of it that shows kind of the top right open up.
Okay.
And if that's the case, I mean, that could be caused by a rear entry. I mean, that could be a rear entry wound on the lower right with an exit coming kind of above where that right eye is and causing the top right part of that cranial vault to open. That's possible. But his head obviously wouldn't have to be straight up for that to be the case. He would almost have to be leaned over or hunched over for that round to hit, right?
Well, here's another thing. Here's from a photo. Now, that was a computer-generated mock-up of what
Correct.
they believe that the
Correct.
president looked like, the results of that bullet strike. Now, this photo that I'm going to show tends to be in keeping with that. We see that the left side of the president is pretty much unmarked. We can see that there's not much damage on that side. So therefore, all the damage had to mostly be in the right hemisphere, the right rear of the president's head.
And so we know then that if he was kind of hunched over when that round hit, if there's that like 45, 50 degree downward angle, that's possible that gives you that rear entry on that back side with that exit kind of above the right eye. It is possible. I mean, you just said it, hey, you kind of said, hey, first blush, what do you think when you kind of see the film? And hey, first blush, that's kind of what I thought when I see the film. But again, it's grainy. You can't see exactly where that overpressurization comes from. But when you're looking at kind of the mock-up and you're looking at some of the photos up close, that certainly could be a rear entry.
Here's a photo that tends to be in keeping with the rest of the photographs. The president is on his back, and you can see that there is material mostly draping down from the right side of his skull, and there's a lot of hair on the left side of the skull. So it's pretty clear the greatest amount of damage to the president's head is to the rear of President Kennedy. But now, you and I spoke on the break, and I still think this is amusing because we just never stopped talking when the radio went off, I said there's an interesting point to all of this that very few people consider. Now, we all know that the president was injured seriously in PT-109 when it struck the Japanese destroyer in World War II. JFK was a PT boat, a patrol torpedo boat captain in the Japanese theater, and his patrol torpedo boat was struck by a Japanese destroyer. It sank. He saved a number of people, but ever since that particular date, he suffered terrible, terrible back injuries, and his back plagued him forever until he perished. He was under a heavy dose of drugs quite frequently, took them by syringe, etc. He was almost in constant pain. Now, because of it, he tended to wear a back brace when he went out. So one thing that I did find out that particular day is that when he was in the automobile, he was wearing his back brace, which gave him a certain measure of relief when he had to sit for periods of time. The back brace was such that he didn't have the ability to curve over. It tended to keep him very erect, very straight in a seat. Now, number one, for a sniper, that makes him an easier target when you have him sitting up very quite vertically in an open automobile in a motorcade. The other thing is, if he's struck from the rear and he tends to go forward, if that's what you're going to get from a shot from the rear, that you're going to think that he's going to move forward, you wouldn't get what you see is you wouldn't see him tend to bend from the neck and then the shoulders and then the back would curve and he would move forward. When he would move, his fulcrum would be basically his waist, and he would tend to move in that fashion from his waist. I didn't see him do any of those things. So it creates an endless series of questions, because I think one of the things that you and me and everyone listening, we would all agree, everyone, from the second Kennedy was shot until the moment that he was placed on that aircraft, which was waiting, and they kept, it was hotter than hell in that aircraft, waiting and trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do with the dead president of the United States. They fucked up that investigation from A to B.
Oh, absolutely.
It was disgusting how terribly that was. Well, basically, there was no investigation. There was a rush of autopsy photos.
Yep.
Who knows what the hell happened to JFK? In his grave in Arlington, do we even know what the hell is in there? And the answer is, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I've heard reports, and I don't know how true it is. I've heard reports that his skull is in the National Archives.
I don't think that that's silly, because I've heard something like that too. We don't know.
We have no idea.
So all of that considered, then, you brought this up. Aren't you sorry? Actually, I'm not sorry that you brought it up.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Because I find this sort of a fascinating topic. But that said, what are we really going to find? If they decide that they're going to open up those archives, what will we find? Will we find anything to do with who? Or will we find something only to do with what?
It's possible we find out that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, and all of the shots came from the rear, and there was nothing from the grassy knoll because it was reverb off of the frickin' buildings, and the reason everything was classified is because the FBI fucked up that investigation, and the government was so embarrassed that they didn't want the people to not have faith in their government after they couldn't stop an assassination when perhaps there were signs, and so they just classified everything. And
I could make an excellent argument for exactly what you said, because that was the temper of the times in the early 60s.
Yeah. So look, it's completely possible that there's going to be nothing shocking in there. It's completely possible. And oh my gosh, with James Comey and the scrutiny that's already on the FBI for the whole handling of the Clinton affair, can you imagine if it now came out that the FBI was that screwed up even back then? Talk about Trump. Man, if Trump ever wanted to close down the FBI, Mr. President, hear me out on this. The FBI is a horrible, horrible, horrible organization. And I don't believe it to be a constitutional organization. Hang on a second. This is my moment, PZ.
Okay, you're right.
And Mr. President, I would urge you, if anything in these files, we already know how they fouled up the Hillary Clinton case. If they screwed up all the way going back to JFK, I highly, highly encourage you to shut them the hell down. They're under the executive branch, Mr. President. Shut that. We have 47 other federal law enforcement agencies, most of which are probably just as unconstitutional, but some of which are not, who could handle the same shit they do. I'll walk around the halls in a frickin' pocket protector and a calculator if that's what you need.
Okay. Now, the people that day that were actually responsible, and most people realize that at Parkland Hospital there were just about fisticuffs between the local Dallas Police Department and the Secret Service. The Secret Service was insistent that they were going to move the body from there to the aircraft, and they were not going to let anybody do anything further in terms of an actual autopsy on the president himself. The coroner at the time was insistent that the body stay there because it happened within the county, whatever county Dallas is in. Dan, are you still in chat? No, Dan's not in chat. I don't know what county Dallas happens to be in, but the city of Dallas essentially was saying, this occurred in our territory. This is in our jurisdiction. We have the doctors here who are ready to go. You have no validity in trying to steal or remove the president's body because we have claim. Therefore, we are the initiating investigators.
Dallas County.
Dallas County? Okay. So they were saying, we have the body. This heinous act occurred within our jurisdiction. We're keeping it. We're starting it. And after all, after everything was said and done, they should have done exactly that. Because we lost valuable, vital historical evidence when the Secret Service decided that they were going to damn near fight. They almost came to blows.
And here's the thing. At that point, that body is not the President of the United States. That body is a body.
Very
and
true.
The Secret Service has jurisdiction over the President of the United States, but not over a body.
And that makes a really curious set of circumstances. Let's say, for whatever reason, this happens again. Maybe not to the president,
God forbid.
But to someone under Secret
God
Service
forbid.
Control.
God forbid.
Then you have to have that stuff arranged up
ahead
front.
of time. You have to.
Because you cannot afford to fuck up history like they fucked up history on September 22nd, 1963.
And so, look, you ask what I mean. What do I think they'll be in these documents? Yeah, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? It could be something really nefarious, or it could be something really benign, which people today would be like, oh, yeah, the feds fucked up the investigation. That's a shocker. Let's move on.
Bingo, that's it. You just raised probably what is the question. It happened so long ago. Does anyone really care anymore?
I think people care from a historical standpoint. I don't think they care from a nobody's going to get fired or investigated over this because they're all freaking gone.
True,
right? They're all dead or retired and 80 or 90 years old by now. So I don't think nothing will be done. So unless the federal government doesn't want egg on its face again with all the stuff going on. I think this
who knows?
I think this is I think this is a opportunity for President Trump to score some points, right? Small points, but score some points. Everybody wants to know what happens to JFK.
Okay, so you're saying that
I think he should release.
He should say, "Go for it."
Absolutely.
I
absolutely
agree.
Look, it passed Congress. It was signed by President George H.W. Bush. Unless there is something, and I can't even imagine what it is that would have to do with national security, unless the frickin' Russians did it.
Well, now stop right there.
Well, hang on.
There are some people who are intimating that Oswald was in fact connected to the Russians.
So here's the thing. If there was
he went to the Russian embassy in Mexico City.
He did, but here's the counter argument to that was, hey, that was the Soviet Union.
And spent time in Russia.
That was the Soviet Union. This is the new Russia. Ruskies. So I think if it comes out that the Russian government had Kennedy assassinated because of how he handled Cuba.
Or was Sam Giancana involved, as some people are speculating?
I don't know.
Because Bobby Kennedy at the time was going after the mafia.
Yeah,
massively.
There's a lot of theories out there about this, but the only national security one I could really even maybe draw a conclusion to is if there were ties to another government like the Russians, who, if there came out in the investigation the Russians ordered the assassination, then I think that would be a big deal. Because you would have people with me say, our government knew that another government, a communist government, ordered the assassination of our president of the United States, and we didn't fucking go to war.
That in and of itself is a massive issue.
So that would be the only one. Well, that would be the only circumstance that right now I would be able to wrap my head around saying, hey, okay, maybe that's why you don't want to release it. Because I could see not wanting to stir that up right now, particularly given where we are with North Korea.
Here's another issue I'm just going to throw into the mess to muddy up the waters.
Yeah, why not?
So to speak. 1990, the wall fell. 1989, President Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, bring down that wall.
No. He was president from 80 to 88, so he couldn't have said that in 89.
Well, he said it earlier, but the wall actually came down in 89. We also discovered that in 89 and 90, the old KGB was in such the Soviet Union was in such disarray that they actually found files from the KGB, which became the GRU later on, to indicate that, for one thing, you remember McCarthy and communism? There were files to indicate that, guess what, McCarthy was right.
Yeah.
What did we not find in any of those files that no one disclosed?
Hitler's body was taken by the Russians.
Not a thing about Kennedy. That's another thing in the mix. If they had something to do with that, what would be the motivation for people that are trying to liberate those files because the nation is in true and utter chaos? And if they grab the McCarthy files to prove, the U.S. was littered with elites, leftist elites that wanted to align themselves. Oh, yeah. That wanted to align themselves for the Communist Party, what would keep anybody from finding some files and saying, to make the Soviet Union look really stupid, look what I've got for you. Read all that. We didn't see that either.
Correct.
But again, it's like,
unless the Russians were smart and they said, we really don't give a shit if they knew we had communists in their country. They knew it anyways. But we really care if they knew we were involved in this other stuff. I mean, some files I would think that they would make damn sure weren't discovered.
It makes for a fascinating
amount
of conjecture on all of this.
Can you think of any other reason why President Trump would keep those files classified for or sealed for national security purposes? If it didn't involve a foreign government, why else would he keep those files? There's no need to hide government incompetence.
Okay, what about this? What if the files get dropped on his table, and it's discovered that there were apparently elements of Russia that were involved in this?
That's what I mean.
Would that not be a massive motivator for him to go, hey, Russia and me, you think that's bad? What about this? Take a peek at this. Would he not possibly be hoping that would blow the lid off all sorts of crap for at least a good month?
Well, it would, because think about it. Then the heat would be off him and Russia, right?
Thank you.
Then it'd be, well, look, if I was trying to protect Russia, I wouldn't show you this.
That would be an excellent way of doing that. And that's, if I were his mouthpiece, that's how I'd craft that, if that was the fact pattern. If that
what
was
if it was North Korea that was involved?
Oh, my God.
Could you?
Oh, Lord. Just had to do that, didn't you? Just had to throw that in there, didn't
Hey, look,
you?
the Korean War at that point was over, right? Well, it wasn't over, but it was in an armistice at that point. So what if it was the North Korean communist government?
Wow. Just saying. Hashtag just saying.
I don't think it was.
No,
but could you imagine? Sorry to do that to you, easy.
Listen, we spent almost an hour talking about this. And I have to be upfront. I had no idea that October 26th, that this was a day of import in any way whatsoever.
Look, it's not getting any play.
That's true, and that's my point. I haven't heard a thing about it. I haven't seen anything about it on the media. So where did you find it?
Whoa. Why all of a sudden are you getting...
How did you find that stuff?
There were a couple stories, but they were kind of buried.
I saw nothing of it.
Yeah, there were a couple.
But I still think it's absolutely fascinating.
No, it is. As a matter of fact, I saw Fox News. They had a little segment on it.
And it's going to be more in the news. I can only hope the closer it gets to the 26th.
I don't know. I didn't see like a flash or anything like that. Well, I mean, it doesn't do anything good, right? But can you imagine if the president seals those records? What's he trying to hide? A Republican, George H.W. Bush, wanted these records sealed. And this president doesn't want you to see it. It passed both houses of Congress. It was signed by a Republican president. It was bipartisan. There was a Democrat, John Glenn, a great American hero. Although they'd kneel before they said that. A great American hero.
Oh, they sure would.
Introduced this bill on the Senate floor. Passed the House. Not a single objection. Not a single objection. Signed into law by your Republican president, George H.W. Bush.
But
what is he trying to hide? Trump was involved in the JFK assassination? It was all part of his plan. Trump colluded with the Russians.
That shit writes itself.
Yes, it does. Trump obviously colluded with the Russians because he was alive on that day in order for this to happen to JFK so he could ultimately win the presidency.
That begs. But yeah, okay. Throw the mic down. Clunk. Don't do it. That's expensive. In any event, that begs two extremely important questions then. Because I think you and I pretty much agree at this point that Trump doesn't have any real...
I agree that ESPN would run with that version of events as I just told them.
Well, shit, yes.
And so would CNN and MSNBC.
Of course. But absent that, because we both kind of tend to agree, Clint, that we don't think that Trump has any real skin in that particular game.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
So I think we can pretty much agree on that.
I think so.
The biggest question is, before we go to
and
the
that's
break,
why I think it would be so interesting if he decides to keep them sealed.
That goes to the next two questions. Number one, who would emerge from the woodwork to try to get a meeting with President Trump about that particular topic? Because who would tell you everything? And then the second question is, why would they want to meet with Trump, and why would they want those records not revealed? That would tell you everything, would it not?
Yeah, it would.
Who, specifically who?
Mueller.
What do they represent?
Mueller.
What are their interests? What organization or agency, set of agencies, is behind that, pushing that individual up to go meet Trump, and for what reason?
I could see if the director of CIA went up to meet with the president and said, hey, look, Mr. President, this had a foreign government was involved. Right now with diplomacy such as it is, with North Korea, with Russia, with everything else, probably not best if these documents come to light. Push it back for another 2 years while you're still in office. Push it back for another 2 years and let things see kind of where the political lay of the land is at this point, because it could pose a serious national security interest. I could see that. That would be
so a 2-year break. Just let's put it on the side burner for a little while and let's see if things just kind of blow down.
Yeah, if there's something that has a foreign government involved, potentially, and potentially who that government is, just the state of the world right now with North Korea and with relations with Russia and so forth, depending on what was in there, I could see an agency doing it for that reason. I don't think anybody would have the balls to go to Trump and say, oh, we were really... we fucked this up and we don't want the American public to know about it, because I think Trump would say, yeah, too bad they're going to know about this, and I think they know that about Trump.
Yeah, folks, we got to go to a break. Come back. This is the final
NFL.
segment. I swear.
NFL, we promise.
I swear to God, we're going to talk about the NFL. Come back. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf was stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Oh, Sackheads, Clint and I were just talking. We were saying that we just enjoyed... this went a different direction that I didn't anticipate in any fashion whatsoever.
I did not anticipate this going in that direction for as long as it did. I expected a 10 to 15 minute discussion.
Yeah, and I have to say,
but then you started
this
going,
was completely unforeseen, and I had a great time.
It was. You know what it was? This was literally just a bullshit session.
Yeah.
It was just...
Yeah, it sure as hell was.
Did you hear about this? No!
Yeah, it was... If there was something that was completely off the cuff, well, for fuck's sake, this was it.
But that's been Sackheads.
Well, that's true.
That's Sackheads.
That's how you guys got going in the first place. Yeah. Sitting down over a cup of coffee and going,
It is.
Did you hear about this stupid shit? Yeah, I can one-up you with this. And you did. Oh, my God. Well, the crazy NFL thing. And it turns out a lot of stuff that we thought we knew on Sunday, we didn't know. For example, everyone on Sunday was saying that this particular Pittsburgh Steeler dude, Alejandro Villanueva, number 78, he was a tackle on the Pittsburgh Steelers, came out into the tunnel, into the sunshine, and as the national anthem was playing, he put his hand over his heart. Now, everybody knows that he was a 3-tour in Afghanistan Army Ranger. Mm-hmm. We can understand that. The very next day, Alejandro Villanueva walks that shit back.
What?
He walked it back and said, well, I left my partners, I feel like I left my team in the lurch, and I feel like I kicked them to the curb, and in retrospect, I don't think I should have done that.
He doesn't think he should have kicked his team to the curb, or he doesn't think he should have come out for the national anthem?
He felt that he wasn't sufficiently supportive of his team, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Fuck his team when they're disrespecting the colors that he risked his life 3 tours worth to defend.
Here's what I suspect, and I think everybody will probably agree, and if you don't, go to hell. The team got to him.
Oh, yeah.
And the team took him aside.
Oh, yeah.
And said, listen, Tony, Alejandro, we don't give a crap that you're a tackle and you're pretty good. If you decide that you're going against the team, we're going to make essentially your life a living hell.
You won't have a job.
And my guess was they said it in terms that were not quite as kind as those.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
And then here's the other issue.
But you know what? Then that's where principle comes into play, right?
Yes, it does. So why did he do that unless that was... You and I both know that initial reactions tend to be the most true.
Yep.
Are they not? So his first reactions were to act as a soldier. The flag is flying. The national anthem is playing. He, as a soldier who may possibly have bled for the United States and quite likely saw people that he knew die, get seriously injured in Afghanistan,
yep.
His first thought was to, I'm going to go... I may not walk completely out into the field, but I'm going to go just to the entrance of this tunnel, and I'm going to show my individual respect for the flag and for the national anthem.
Yep.
And I think the only reason he walked it back is because he received pressure from everyone. Now, I have a question for you. You know this guy Tomlin is the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
His decision that day was to keep... under the guise of, and what he said was, I wanted to minimize the impact of this, and I wanted to save my troops from being exposed to all this political crap. So my decision, and the team agreed, was that during the national anthem, we're just going to be in the locker room. And there's no motivation beyond that for what my decision was, and then I got an agreement with my team. Question. A or B? A, bullshit, or B, completely concur?
C.
Okay.
The National Football League, and now I understand why they're and I didn't before. I thought that they were protesting, police brutality and the treatment of the minority, particularly African Americans. I now know that that is false. I know now that the NFL, because it's very much an NFL discussion right now, so it has to be focused on the NFL. The NFL is clearly upset about the underrepresentation of Asian and Pacific Islanders in the NFL.
Ooh, that must be it.
And whites. And here's why I say that.
Right, Caucasoids, you got it, of course.
Here's why I say that. The NFL is almost 70% African American.
It is, depending on which team you're talking about. If you're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, you're talking about 80-85%.
Yeah, overall, it's between like 65 and 70% African American, with between 25 and 30% being white and less than 5% being Asian or Pacific Islander.
Wow.
So why would a bunch of rich entertainers be protesting inequitable treatment in this country when clearly they are way overrepresented?
And a seriously underrepresented minority needs to have its voice.
Absolutely.
And its presence on the team.
So I have changed my perspective. I want to thank the athletes of the NFL for protesting the inequities and bringing about this very important question and this very important issue of the fact that whites and Asian and Pacific Islanders are so underrepresented in the National Football League. And I want to know why the owners in the NFL are so racist that they feel the need to exclude Asian and Pacific Islander participants and limit white participants while singling out black athletes and raising them to the status that they are and making them millionaires. What do they have against white people and Asian Pacific Islanders?
And you have spoken. And
have you ever heard that argument put that way?
And here's your mic.
Let me see it.
Clank.
Look, the statistics bear out my argument, not theirs.
I'm going to try saying that word again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Statistically speaking,
Uh-huh.
that's factual. I actually got that out.
Statistically
Shit.
speaking, that's factual.
Statistically, fuck it. I'll say it another. Factually speaking.
Factually speaking.
Thank you.
Look, either that or the NFL is exploiting African Americans.
Oh.
So which is it?
Oh.
Are they elevating them above other racial groups, or are they using them for entertainment purposes? Which is worse? And if affirmative action is good for fucking colleges and businesses and everything else, then you know what? The NFL should have to abide by that too. You can't have an almost 70% African American workforce. How's that?
You know, that reminds me of, you've posed the question in terms that a good defense attorney would, and that's this. Okay, then, were you lying to me then, or are you lying to me now?
Yeah. You like that?
Nicely played.
Thank you.
Nicely played.
Thank you.
That's grand. I love that. I have to say I love that.
You can feel free to use that.
And then there was war.
Look, yeah. So I am not watching the NFL anymore.
No, I'm not either. Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck those guys. All of them. The NFL.
And you've already said Major League Baseball goes that way. They're dead too.
Yes, they are. Do you remember when the strike hurt MLB?
Oh yeah.
And how bad that hurt MLB?
Yep.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not going to go give my money to them. That's your fucking team. When they're wearing your uniform, they represent your organization. And if your organization is okay with representatives disrespecting the flag, then I'm not okay with you. And the NFL is clearly an organization that's good with that. And if the NFL is so fucking worried about this issue, why are their players not out in the community more? If you want to do something, hey, God bless you. Go do it. Get out in the community. Make your voice heard. Be an activist. I 100% support you in that endeavor. I may not agree with you, but I support you. You are an athlete. You're a leader. Look, Colin Kaepernick, I may not agree with how he protested when he was on the sideline wearing the San Francisco 49ers uniform. I may not agree with him, but the fact that he donated his money to those groups, he put his money where his mouth was, and he was out in the community, I may disagree with him vehemently, but I support his right, and I respect the fact that he's out there doing that on his time and with his money. But when you're wearing that uniform, and as an owner, look, here's the thing. Before these protests started, Americans came into the stands. Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, we came together. We saw a football game. Everybody stood for the pledge. If you didn't stand for the pledge in the stands, that's your right. You're a paying customer. You're not representing anybody but you. If you want to be an asshole and sit down for the pledge, God bless you. That's your right to do that. Do that. But the representatives of the team stands up for the pledge, the fact that this nation has allowed them to rise and to achieve what they have achieved, and Americans come together to watch a sporting event. The act of kneeling is not, they're arguing this backwards, and they do this shit with the gun debate. This act of kneeling is not showing solidarity. This act of kneeling is divisive.
It's the most divisive you could possibly
Yes, because now,
thought of.
Before this, fans came together and watched football. But now what do?
Well, we've politicized everything.
Yes, we have.
Everything.
Yes, we have. Now we have fans that boo when they see that stuff. Some of them. Some cheer. Some don't go see football anymore, so we no longer have as many people coming together. We have division. This is a divisive act.
NASCAR, baby.
Look, NASCAR, several owners have come right out and said that shit will not fly.
Let me ask you one final question about this NFL gig. NFL ratings have been tanking, absolutely tanking, for a host of reasons, not the least of which was Colin Kaepernick, that started in 2016. That, by the way, started under Barack Obama.
Yes, it did.
Let me give you another little aside about Colin Kaepernick, the one that everybody loves. He's not registered to vote. Just thought I'd throw that into the mix as well. But the ratings went up during Monday Night Football when the Dallas Cowboys were playing. And why do you think the ratings went up for Monday Night Football involving the Dallas Cowboys? Because they wanted to see if Jerry Jones was going to tell his team that they're going to stand during the national anthem, and they didn't. So what did they do? Well, Jerry Jones decided that he was going to slice the baby right down the middle.
Yeah, he was going to kneel first
and
then stand for the anthem.
Are you kidding me? Whatever goodness and grace the city of Dallas and America's football team had prior to that,
gone.
Jerry Jones, I think you just showed your arse to the rest of the world.
Yep. And look, I was one of those guys saying, fuck it, I'm done with football. There were two teams.
If you can't even get the Dallas Cowboys.
Did the Arizona Cardinals stand for the anthem, all of them?
Boy, I don't remember.
Because it was can you find out real quick? Because it was the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals, I think, that were the only two teams that hadn't done a protest. And I don't remember what Arizona did, but it was big news that the Dallas Cowboys took a knee real quick and then popped up for the anthem. And he's trying to show solidarity with the owners, but then, you know what? That's ridiculous. It's your team, Mr. Jones. You had the opportunity to do the right thing, and you didn't. In compromising your position, in compromising by kneeling before the anthem and then standing for the anthem and trying to have it both ways, in my opinion, you compromised your principles. And in doing that, look, that was the last team that I would have contemplated supporting.
I'm trying to find out, by the way, if anybody in chat happens to know, could you let us know in chat? Because I'm looking through the internet right now.
What the Arizona Cardinals did?
Trying to find out if the Arizona Cardinals took a knee. But you made an excellent point, and let me take a peek at this.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they're no longer America's team. And so the NFL as a whole, I'm done with them. And Robert Goodell allowing this to happen, look, I hope that the NFL goes the way of the Canadian Football League, and I hope arena football goes big. And the reason is, or I hope they pull their heads out of their asses, they apologize to the American public and the men and women who've served this country, and they get their shit together and enact a rule.
The only thing I could find is this under CNN. Let's see. It said members of the Cowboys and Cardinals teams stood in separate locations for the anthem. The teams had talked about coming together for a joint display of unity, but that didn't happen, a league source said. No member of either team was shown in the televised broadcast kneeling or sitting as the anthem played. Now, that's all I can find. I cannot find a definitive answer with regard to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't know either. Trump did call the Cowboys anthem demonstration progress. So he called it progress, I guess, because they knelt first. They didn't kneel during the anthem, so you got to give them credit there. But the fact that they still knelt at all, I know damn well what they were alluding to.
Yeah. You made the point, and it's like, all right, if the Dallas Cowboys are going to partake of this, who is left? Who is left to have any confidence in? And that's just about, as far as I'm concerned, the NFL just shot itself in the head.
Yeah, and now, you're going to have those people that are like, I don't give a shit what they do. I just want to see football. You're going to have those people.
Yeah.
But you're going to have people like me who used to watch football on a fairly regular basis.
Bingo. And you put your money where your mouth was. You used to attend the games.
Yeah.
And you attend baseball games. Now, I don't. I go to the TV. I watch stuff on the TV. And here's another thing we need to represent to everyone. If the NFL suffers, it's not going to be immediately. Yeah, it might be with ratings, but you have to remember that NFL contracts with ABC, CBS, ESPN, etc., those contracts are already set up. That money has already exchanged.
Yes.
Where they could be hit big time is in terms of the ratings, and just like you said, in terms of what they want to do with new stadiums.
Ticket sales,
merchandise. Merchandising. Huge issue.
Concessions.
Because I'll wager this. We heard that number 78, Villanueva's jersey, was selling like fucking hotcakes on Monday.
Yep.
And so he comes out and recants on Monday. My guess, his jersey sales ran flat on Tuesday and today. That'd be my guess.
My guess is that I didn't see his recant statement anywhere. How many people outside of the Pittsburgh area heard it? How many people out of their fan base heard it? And as such, his jersey may continue to sell.
I heard it on some news networks. So the information was out there if you wanted to listen to it. We got a couple of minutes left. Let me ask you about North Korea. North Korea basically said that Trump has made a declaration of war. Of course, we have done absolutely no such thing. But they took that as a declaration of war. Now North Korea has come out and said that if we send bombers even close to North Korea, they're going to shoot them down.
Good. I'd fucking send one. I'd send one bomber, like remote control one, like a old, like just something old and slow,
like a B-17.
No, because B-17's badass.
No, that's
right.
True.
Like
that's
a
true.
Like a freaking just something. I don't know what, but just put a remote control in it and just let it cruise like an international. Let them shoot it down, and then game on. China said if they start shit, they're not going to back them, so let them start it. Or get one pilot with balls and be like, hey, listen.
I'll do it.
We know they're going to launch something. Just punch out before the missile hits.
I'll do it. Right? You know what? Strap me in. I'll take it. I'll do it. The thing that I find interesting is that the major Chinese bank has said that it will no longer make loans to North Korea.
Yeah, they say that. They're also not going to buy their energy anymore. Remember when they said that?
Well, they said that they stopped coal shipments.
Yeah. And
that was, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, something like that. Hey, you had another topic that you were talking about that we had completely ignored. And as soon as you said it, I thought, oh, that's another good topic that we should
North
talk about.
Korea was going to do an EMP over us, and we're fucked.
That was something else that you brought up.
Tax reform.
Bingo. That was it.
Tax reform bill.
Did you hear anything about it? Because I understand the way
Yeah, it's gonna compress the current 7 brackets down to 3.
Down to 3.
Or something like that.
That's 1.
Yeah.
But I also understand that taxes are going
to
potentially
cut in half. They're going to double the earned income tax credit.
Right.
They're going to double that. And they're going to do all kinds of cool stuff that Democrats hate.
Question for you.
Yes.
I don't think it's about the GOP. They've had 8 years to put together, repeal, and replace, because that's all what they were about for 8 years. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Including John McCain. And
wait a minute, Sackheads, Clint, did not all of these GOP guys and gals, did they not all run predicated upon, we're going to repeal Obamacare?
They did. Here's where the Republicans are going to screw themselves. Trump has already shown that he can work with the Democrats.
Yes.
He worked with them on the stopgap on the bill to keep the government funded for 3 months.
Yep.
So if the Republicans lose the House and the Senate, Trump will just work with the Democrats. He'll get something done. He's a businessman. He contributed to the Democrats for years. He contributed to some Republicans.
Yep.
He'll work with whoever's in there.
We had the ability. I'm still working on this post. It's taken me almost a month now, but I keep compiling articles, article after article after article. It's like, GOP, are you really this stupid?
Yes.
GOP, are you really going to do all of these things and be the obstructionists?
Yes.
That the Democrats wish they were. We've had control of the triumvirate only 3 times in the entire history of the United States. We had it in 1923, presidency, House, Senate. We had it under Bush in 92 and 93, presidency, House, Senate. We have it now, presidency, House, Senate. What are we doing with power?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We're investigating Russia. We're not even investigating Russia. Some hack is investigating a potential collusion, which isn't even illegal, with Russia.
I could make the excellent argument that the Republicans are being even greater obstructionists that the Democrats are right now. And the Democrats are in the back, you know, this backslapping all around. Hey, you GOP guys, this is really great. All this establishment crap is going to keep going, and the deep state goes on and burns along, and everybody makes a paycheck.
Is this the Republicans as a whole, or is it a few?
It's a few. Well, let's see. It's
John McCain.
This is interesting. Imagine what the phone calls must be like between John McCain and Lindsey Graham now that John McCain doesn't want to vote for Lindsey Graham, his best friend's bill.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to hear the phone call between that? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
And let's see. Collins.
McCaskill.
Murkowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Rand Paul.
Yeah. Rand Paul I kind of get. He wants shit done like the real right way right now.
Philosophically,
yeah,
I understand what he's doing.
Yes.
But by those persons that we've just named in the GOP deciding that they can't vote for this bill, what are they essentially saying? They're saying this. They're saying, you know what? Obamacare is really better than anything we could produce.
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me? That's your decision? So you've just decided that you're gonna take all these votes from your constituents, and when push comes to shove, because you're in place, you're ensconced in your lovely little seat with your chauffeured cars and your great bills that you can run up, you've got yours, and your constituents can go to hell.
What about the House? The House hasn't done anything either.
No.
Tax reform. We'll see if this tax reform bill gets signed.
Yeah, there's the deal. Okay, there it is on paper. We're looking at it. We're thinking about signing it. This is what's out there, and we've read it. We kind of hear it. We're knowing about it, but where's it going? Is it going anywhere? Is it taking the J-bus downtown? Who knows?
One way to find out. We'll see. We'll see if that one actually gets done, or what Republicans, if any. I want to know what John McCain's got to say about that one.
I thought I heard someone in the GOP say something about trying to get John McCain out because they believe they believe that he's no longer functioning sufficiently because of his sickness, that he needs to somehow be removed from office.
I heard something that they were trying to have him recalled over his health care votes because he campaigned on a promise of repealing Obamacare, and he's now voted against it twice. So I heard that there was a push for recall. Also, we have like 18 seconds
we do.
left.
Folks, thank you for listening to the Sackheads Radio on tonight, Wednesday. Sackheads Clint
yes.
and Sackheads BZ. We bid you farewell and adieu. Don't forget tomorrow night, right here, Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. And then, of course, next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, you got to come back for the Sackheads Radio Show. Right? Right.
The best late night conservative show in America.
I'm agreeing with
Sackheads
you.
Radio. And listen, there are no people
I put my eye
better on
patch
the
on.
air the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too.
Matey.
For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America.
America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.